Hey everyone, welcome to another card tutorial. We're going to be featuring the Coffee First stamp set from Create a Smile Stamps. To get started, I'm taking a piece of 11 by 4¼ inch Neenah Desert Storm cardstock. This is an excellent craft cardstock that I've discovered, and I got mine at Simons Says Stamp. I'll have all the links below in the description for all the products used in this video, so if you're interested in anything, you can check those out there or on my blog. So now that I folded my card base, I am going to be doing a little bit of a masking technique. Now this masking technique is super easy because the top of the coffee cup is flat. So I'm going to be taking my stamp press here and I'm going to be stamping a stack of coffee cups that are stapled one on the other. I think I just used a German-English word, I'm sorry. I'm mixing my languages here. In a stack, not a stapel. And I'm going to be stamping that in Versamark ink. Now, I did the stamp press and I tried to work as quickly as possible so that nothing on the ink dried or anything like that, because I'm not sure how long Versamark actually stays wet and sticky. And then I just took a piece of a scrap paper here, blocked off that first coffee cup, and stamped my second one. You have to make sure to apply some pressure, especially on the area close to the computer paper or scrap paper that you're using, because you don't want there to be a line that doesn't stamp, because then it would just look funny and not look like it's masked off or look like one stamp, which is our goal here. So I'm just continuing up the card and stacking. My plan is 4 cups all the way to the top. Okay, just to speed up the video a little bit here, we're just stamping those final 2 coffee cups with the Versamark ink. And then we're going to be adding some white embossing powder. This is super fine embossing powder from Ranger. And I'm just adding that to my card. As you can see, I have all my embossing powder in a Tupperware container so that when I put it on, the rest or the excess generally falls off into the Tupperware, except for that first little bit there. And you just want to make sure that you have even coverage on all of it. And then I just flip it over, tap it from the back, and give it a little flick, and generally all the excess embossing powder does fall off. You may have to go in and retouch a few areas. That's normal. Now before heat embossing this, I wanted to add my sentiment, the coffee sentiment here, and I am using the khaki ink from Simons Says Stamp. And the reason why I'm stamping it before I emboss it is because if I emboss it and then stamp it, part of the sentiment is not going to stamp. So I stamped that onto the bottom and applied some pressure onto my stamp press to get a nice even coat. And then I just grabbed a dry paintbrush and I just brushed away the excess powder that was in the sentiment before heat embossing it. So now my sentiment's in the heat embossing, but it's not embossed over, if that makes sense. Next up was coloring these images here, and I'm using Inktense pencils, which work really well with water. So you can see I'm just going to be coloring from the bottom upwards, but I'm not going to finish coloring it because when you add water to these pencils, it goes a really long way. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a general color theme throughout the cups by adding brown in each cup on every second layer and then adding its own individual color. Alright, so now I'm getting almost to the point where I'm ready to sort of watercolor this or faux watercolor this, whichever way you want to do it. So I started at the end where we colored and then worked my way up to give it sort of an ombre look in between each layer. I did all the browns first since I can do those all at the same time, and I wiped off my brush and then I continued. You could obviously put less pencil crayon on there and you'll get even more of an ombre look and not as bright, but I really love how these pencil crayons work so well on a darker colored paper, on this craft paper. And what I wanted to do here was I wanted to add a little bit of a gold spray to the card just to give it some interest, so I just misted that as well just to add a little bit of an extra touch to the card. And you can't really see it on camera, that well. You can see where it's still wet, but when it dries you can't really see it. But overall I like the look of that as well. I decided that I wanted to darken this up a little bit, so what I did was I took a darker brown pencil crayon, and I'm using my water brush and picking up color off of the pencil crayon tip and just darkening up those browns. And I wanted to make sure that I did that, and then I wanted to darken it up a little bit so that it was a little bit more intense. Next, I'm using once again the khaki ink pad, and I'm going to be using the lipstick red from Simon Says Stamp to stamp this I love onto this banner here. And these embellishments are really great. They look almost like a wood or a chipboard, but they're actually really cool material, and they're a little bit flexible as well, and I love them. They come in different sentiments, and there's balloons and speech bubbles and all sorts of things that I will link to below, where you can check those out on the Create a Smile website as well. And they're really inexpensive embellishments that you can add to your card, and they look really great. So I wanted to add the I love coffee, or the I love, onto that speech bubble there. So I stamped that in 2 different colors. So you can see I just used my ink pad and kind of eyeballed it to put the color down, but you could also use some washi tape to mask that off if you're not really steady with your hands. And then I just added some Tombow Mono liquid adhesive and added that to the card. I decided that the speech bubble looked a little bit too light for the card since it was so dark, so I grabbed my sponge tool and brushed corduroy distress ink from Tim Holtz and just kind of pounced it on there to darken it up and make it look a little bit more vintage. I thought that that made it look a little bit more like it didn't stand out as much as it did before, and it created sort of that coffee stain look to the card, which I really liked. And now I used my Tombow Mono adhesive to attach that to my card. I just placed it right above the sentiment, and then that was the end of this card tutorial. So I hope you enjoyed making this coffee first card, and all my links to the supplies are below. Be sure to thumbs up and subscribe for more videos that I'm creating with Create a Smile. Thanks for watching.